When the world hears the name of the U.S. military today, images of advanced tanks, fighter jets, missiles, and satellites come to mind. But very few people know that this military was founded on weakness, fear, and extreme disorder. In the 18th century, America had no regular army. Standing up to the British Empire was considered almost suicidal. American soldiers were ordinary civilians, holding outdated rifles without uniforms, and unaware of the basic rules of warfare. Many fought barefoot, shivering in the cold, weakened by hunger. When they first faced the British Army directly, American units scattered. The fear was so intense that many soldiers fled the battlefield. At that moment, it seemed as if the dream of American independence would be buried right there. But within that weakness, a new way of thinking was born. American leadership realized that if they wanted to confront a powerful army, they did not need to become like it. They needed to become different. They adopted small skirmishes, ambush tactics, and strategies designed to exhaust the enemy. This was the moment when the American military first learned that strength does not come only from numbers or weapons, but from patience, planning, and the correct use of time. After independence, America decided to create a standing army. Yet for many years it remained weak. Funding was scarce and politics kept the military in the background. In the 19th century, as America began expanding its borders, the army had to fight on a larger scale for the first time. The Civil War shattered the military from within. Soldiers of the same nation stood against each other. Millions were killed. Yet it was during this bloody era that America began developing modern weapons, training systems, and command structures. The army learned that if leadership is weak, even strong soldiers will lose. The real transformation came during the First World War. America entered the war late, but when it did, it arrived with fresh troops, new ideas, and modern supply lines. For the first time, America realized that industrial power and military power are incomplete without each other. After the war, America did not neglect its military. Instead, it quietly began preparing it for future conflicts. The Second World War shaped the U.S. military into what the world recognizes today. Japan's attack shook America to its core. In a single moment, it was decided that there was no path of retreat. Factories began producing weapons day and night. Young people enlisted in massive numbers, and training became ruthless. America learned to fight on three fronts: sea, land, and air. And when the atomic bomb was used, the world realized that America was no longer just a country, but a source of fear. However, that power gave rise to arrogance. In the Vietnam War, America assumed that advanced weapons alone guaranteed victory. But their war was not being won with guns. It was being fought by winning the hearts of the people. The U.S. military was modern, but the enemy was hidden within the land, the jungles, and the population. Losses increased every day. Soldiers began to break down mentally, and eventually America was forced to withdraw. This was the moment when the U.S. military learned that not every war can be won through force. Then came Iraq and Afghanistan. Initial victories were achieved, governments fell, and capitals were captured. But the problem did not end. The wars dragged on, the enemy kept changing form, and the U.S. military became trapped in a quagmire where the meaning of victory was unclear. Trillions of dollars were spent, thousands of lives were lost, and in the end, withdrawal came without fully achieving the intended goals. After these wars, America once again began reshaping its military. The focus shifted away from massive armies toward intelligence, technology, drones, cyber warfare, and covert operations. Fewer soldiers were deployed, but they were more highly trained. War began to be fought less on the battlefield and more on screens. In the present era, the U.S. government has equipped its military with the most advanced weapons and increased its budget. But at the same time, the military has had to carry the burden of political decisions. Soldiers are physically strong but mentally under immense pressure. Many experts say that today the U.S. military is nearly unbeatable in terms of weaponry, yet continuous wars have exhausted its spirit. History teaches that no army remains powerful forever. Those who learn from their mistakes move forward, and those who fall into arrogance gradually weaken. The U.S. military is still powerful today, but its true test will be the future wars. Wars that may not be fought with guns, but with decisions. When the Second World War ended in 1945, the world was left devastated. The United States, however, was the only country whose industry, economy, and military all remained intact and well organized. The year 1947 proved to be a turning point, when America made a decision that permanently reshaped the foundation of its military. That year, the National Security Act was enacted, formally organizing the U.S. Armed Forces, creating a unified command structure, and beginning the process of separating the military from politics while developing it into a professional institution. During this period, the U.S. military acknowledged that winning wars requires more than just soldiers. It requires a strong and systematic training framework. After the Korean War in the 1950s, the United States introduced clear reforms in military training. Soldiers were no longer trained only to fire weapons. They were taught map reading, enemy psychology, weather conditions, and terrain analysis. Every soldier was trained to take command if their officer was killed. By the 1960s, the U.S. military had developed the toughest basic training program in the world. New recruits were subjected to weeks of sleep deprivation, physical exhaustion, and intense pressure so that they would not panic on the battlefield. Alongside physical fitness, mental resilience was heavily emphasized. This training transformed ordinary young men and women into disciplined soldiers. After its defeat in the Vietnam War, the United States did not dismantle its military. Instead, it treated the failure as a lesson. In 1973, America introduced the all-volunteer force, military. Service was no longer compulsory. Only those who chose to become professional soldiers were enlisted. This decision significantly improved the quality of the armed forces. Fewer troops, but better trained, more responsible, and more committed. In the 1980s, the U.S. military introduced realistic war games to make training as close to real combat as possible. Soldiers were trained in environments that simulated actual warfare, complete with live fire exercises, explosions, noise, and darkness. During this era, modern armored units were developed, joint exercises with the Air Force were expanded, and integrated operations with the Navy were established. This was the period when the U.S. military learned to operate simultaneously on land, in the air, and at sea. The 1991 Gulf War clearly demonstrated to the world what the U.S. military had achieved through its training, defeating a large enemy force within weeks was not merely the result of superior weapons, but the outcome of years of planning, continuous exercises, and structured training. Soldiers knew exactly when to move, where to hold, and when to strike. After 2001, during the War on Terror, the U.S. military once again adapted its approach. Training shifted toward urban warfare, including house-to-house searches, controlled use of force, and the protection of civilians. Special forces units were further strengthened, with training far more demanding than that of conventional troops. These units were taught foreign languages, cultural awareness, and covert operations. Today, the standard of training in the U.S. military ensures that a soldier is not only skilled in handling weapons, but also proficient in using advanced technology, understanding modern equipment, and operating effectively as part of a coordinated team. Training programs are updated annually, outdated mistakes are removed from curricula, and new realities of warfare are incorporated. It is this continuous effort, discipline, and self-accountability that have made the U.S. military powerful. Throughout history, it has not merely fought wars, but consistently improved its forces, intensified its training, and enhanced the capabilities of its soldiers. For this reason, the U.S. military is regarded as one of the strongest in the world, not solely because of its numbers or weaponry, but because of its training and discipline. After that, the United States did not limit itself to passing laws. It built practical and functioning institutions. Although the Pentagon was fully activated as early as 1946, after 1950 it became the largest military command center in the world. All major decisions, operations, and training plans began to be controlled from there. The objective was to ensure that the military operated not on emotion, but on the basis of data, reports, and intelligence. In 1951, the United States implemented the Uniform Code of Military Justice. Under this law, every soldier, officer, and general was placed under the same legal system. This brought discipline to the armed forces, reduced corruption, and increased transparency in decision-making. This step transformed the U.S. military into a professional institution rather than merely a powerful group. From 1950 to 1953, the Korean War forced the U.S. military to develop new training methods for cold climates, mountainous terrain, and high-tempo warfare. After this war, in 1954, modern infantry and airborne training at Fort Benning and Fort Bragg was upgraded. Soldiers began receiving practical training in night combat, parachute operations, and conducting missions behind enemy lines. In 1961, President John F. Kennedy formally expanded the U.S. Army Special Forces. During this period, the training of the Green Berets was made more rigorous. It included learning foreign languages, working with local populations, and fighting in small units. This decision was based on the experiences of the Vietnam War. By the late 1960s, the U.S. military acknowledged that increasing numbers alone was not the solution. As a result, a historic decision was made in 1973 to end compulsory conscription, the draft. This marked the beginning of the all-volunteer force, meaning that only those willing to undergo intense training, strict discipline, and long-term service would join the military. This decision fundamentally improved the quality of the armed forces. In 1976, the U.S. Army established the Training and Doctrine Command, TRADOC. This institution remains the center of U.S. Army training, warfighting doctrine, and future preparation. TRADOC's role was to revise military curricula after every conflict, incorporate lessons from failures, and develop new strategies. Very few militaries in the world possess such a system. In 1981, the National Training Center, NTC, was established, where soldiers began training in the most realistic combat environments possible. Simulated enemy forces were created, conditions close to live combat were reproduced, and units were kept under continuous pressure for days. The purpose was to ensure that no situation in real war would feel unfamiliar. The 1991 Gulf War revealed the practical results of these reforms. The U.S. military operated with advanced technology, precise intelligence, and complete coordination. The ground war ended in just 100 hours. This success was not accidental. It was the result of 40 years of continuous training and institutional reforms. After 2001, to address urban warfare and counterterrorism operations, the U.S. military introduced counterinsurgency training manuals in 2003. In 2006, under the supervision of General David Petraeus, these manuals were further refined. They included clear guidelines on how soldiers should operate among civilian populations, limit the use of force, and gather local intelligence. After 2010, the U.S. military formally recognized cyber and space as operational domains of warfare. In 2019, the U.S. Space Force was established to protect satellites, communications, and space-based surveillance. This decision was made with future wars in mind. All these historical steps demonstrate that the strength of the U.S. military was not created by a single war, a single weapon, or a single government. It is the result of decades of decisions, institutions, training systems, and continuous reforms. In every era, the United States improved its military not just on paper, but on the battlefield itself.